I retired a year and a half ago. Excuse me. And there are five things I wish I'd understood before I stopped working. Because honestly, if I'd known them, I probably would have retired sooner, and the transition would have felt less disorienting than it did. My name is Kevin. I'm 64 years old, and I want to share these with you, not because I have it all figured out, but because I didn't, and maybe that's useful.
Before I get into it, though, I want to ask you something. If you're thinking about retirement or you've already made the jump, drop a comment and tell me what surprised you most about it. I'm genuinely curious whether the things that caught me off guard are the same things that caught you. And if you've been watching my videos for a while and finding them helpful, consider subscribing. I'm not selling anything. I already left the business. I'm just trying to give away what I spent 20 years charging people for. First thing, I missed my paycheck. And I know that sounds ridiculous because the whole point of retirement is you don't need the paycheck anymore. But for 40 years, money arrived in my account on the 15th and the last day of every month like clockwork. Twice a month. Same rhythm. Same reassurance. I used to describe it to friends like this. I felt like I was standing on the bank of a river, and every 2 weeks, another raft of supplies would float down toward me. Money I could spend. Money I could save. Money I could use to fix mistakes from the month before, if I overspent somewhere. It felt like reinforcements were always coming.
And then I retired, and the river stopped. The 15th would come, and I'd feel this weird absence. The 30th would pass, and I'd notice it again. Not because I needed the money. I had a plan. I was confident in the plan. But the rhythm was gone, and that rhythm had been organizing my life for 4 decades. It took about 100 days before I stopped noticing. Now, a year and a half in, I don't think about it at all. But I totally understand why that first few months felt strange. If you're worried that might be you, the thing that helped me was having complete clarity on the plan. I knew the numbers, I knew where the money was coming from, I knew it would be okay. That certainty made the absence of the paycheck bearable. But I'm telling you, it was harder than I expected, and I was a financial advisor. I should have seen it coming. Second thing, and this one embarrasses me now because it was so unnecessary, I was worried about letting down my coworkers. I'd been at my firm for 22 years. A lot of the people I worked with had been there just as long. It was a good place. That's why we stayed. And I genuinely thought people were going to be upset when I left. I thought they'd say, "Don't go, we need you here." You know what actually happened? Nothing. I left and someone else stepped into my role and did it well. The firm kept running. The clients were fine. I mattered while I was there, but I wasn't irreplaceable. Nobody is. If that's holding you back, if you're staying at a job because you think the place will fall apart without you, I'm telling you, it won't. A company is always bigger than any one person. Don't let that cost you a single extra year. Third thing, I underestimated how good it would feel to control all of my time. When you're working, you think you control maybe half of your waking hours. But when you factor in commuting and the energy it takes to recover from a workday and the mental space your job occupies, even when you're not there, the reality is you're probably only in control of 20 or 30% of your quality time. Going from 30% to 100% was more liberating than I expected. I could do what I wanted, when I wanted, with whom I wanted. No schedule dictated by someone else, no obligations I didn't choose. I used to tell my wife and kids that I didn't really need to retire because I felt like I was balancing everything fine. I had good vacation time, my boss was understanding, I thought I had it under control. But I didn't realize the cost until I stopped. My blood pressure had been borderline high for years. I tried everything my doctor suggested. Ate better, cut caffeine entirely for months at a time. Nothing brought it down. I assumed it was genetic and I'd eventually need medication. Then I retired. My last 2 physicals since stopping work have shown completely normal blood pressure. I don't think that's a coincidence. I didn't realize how much pressure I was carrying. Literally. I also didn't realize how little I was sleeping.
6 or 7 hours, most nights during my working years. I thought 7 was fine. It probably is for some people. But 6 wasn't enough for me. Now I sleep 8 or 9 hours when I need it, and I can feel the difference. The stress I thought I was managing me. Fourth thing, and this one I didn't expect at all. My mental health. I've never struggled with anxiety in my life. But during the first few weeks of COVID in 2020, when everything felt terrifying, and hospitals weren't allowing visitors and people were dying alone, I had my first real mental health crisis. One of my deepest fears is dying alone, and watching the news every night showing people isolated in hospital rooms, with no family allowed, that fear became overwhelming. I reached out for help, and I'm grateful I did. But it threw me into something I'd never experienced before, and I had no tools for it. It taught me that mental health requires daily maintenance the same way physical health does, and that realization has stayed with me. Health without wealth can still be a full retirement. Wealth without health cannot. And money without mental stability is not retirement at all. It's just having money while suffering. That month and a half when anxiety had me was hell. I wouldn't trade all the financial security in the world for going through that again. Take your mental health seriously. It's not optional. Fifth thing. I was probably too conservative with my investments. This is ironic because I spent 20 years as a financial advisor telling clients to match their risk to their goals, and I followed my own advice. I was a good saver, so I didn't need to take much risk. But looking back, I think I left something on the table. Not because I needed more money, because I was protecting against a fear that probably didn't need that much protection. I optimized for safety when I could have optimized for living a little more freely a little sooner.
I don't regret being careful, but I do think the line between prudent and overly cautious is thinner than most people realize. I'm 64 now, a year and a half into this. And what I keep coming back to is that retirement isn't about stopping, it's about starting something else. But you can't start that next thing if you're still holding on to the rhythm and identity and certainty of the previous one. Letting go of the paycheck wasn't about money. It was about letting go of a structure I'd built my entire adult life around. Letting go of my role at work wasn't about the job. It was about accepting that I'm not defined by what I do for someone else anymore. Taking control of my time wasn't about freedom. It was about responsibility. Because when all the time is yours, you have to decide what it's for. And that's harder than it sounds. If you're approaching this transition, or you're in the middle of it, I'd genuinely like to know where you are. Tell me in the comments what's been hardest for you, or what you're most worried about. I read them. And if this was helpful, consider subscribing. I'm just here trying to make the next part of life a little easier to navigate for anyone willing to listen. We spend decades building one version of ourselves, and then one day we have to build another. That's not a crisis. That's just what happens when you're lucky enough to have time left. The question isn't whether you're ready, it's what you're going to do with it.